Have you ever looked at the Nike Swoosh and wondered where it came from? It's one of the most recognizable logos on the planet, a symbol of victory, athleticism, and cool. But what if I told you its story began not in a high-powered design firm, but on a college campus and was sold for the price of a decent dinner? Let's rewind to 1971. A man named Phil Knight, the co-founder of what was then called Blue Ribbon Sports, was about to launch his own brand of athletic shoes. He needed a logo, something that conveyed motion and speed, but he didn't have a big budget. Knight was also teaching accounting at Portland State University at the time. One day, he overheard a student, Carolyn Davidson, talking about how she couldn't afford to take an oil painting class. An idea sparked. He approached her and offered her a job doing some freelance design work for his new company. The pay? A humble $2 per hour. Carolyn, an art student, accepted the offer. Knight gave her the brief: create a stripe, the industry term for a shoe logo that was simple, dynamic, and looked good on the side of a shoe. He wanted something that suggested movement, but was different from the 3 stripes of Adidas, their main competitor. So, Carolyn got to work. She spent hours sketching, exploring different concepts on tissue paper, which she would then lay over drawings of shoes to see how they fit. It was a process of trial and error. She presented several designs to Phil Knight and his partners. Now, here's the funny part. When Knight first saw the design we now know as the swoosh, he wasn't exactly blown away. His reaction was famously lukewarm. He said, "Well, I don't love it, but maybe it will grow on me." Time was ticking, and they needed to get the shoes into production, so they chose the checkmark-like design. Carolyn called it the stripe. It was another employee who, inspired by the Greek goddess of victory, Nike, suggested the name swoosh. The name stuck. Carolyn Davidson submitted her invoice for the work. For a total of 17.5 hours of work, her final bill came to just $35. That's right. One of the most valuable and iconic brand marks in history was purchased for $35. She handed over the design, and that was that. Or so it seemed. The new shoe brand, now officially named Nike, launched with the swoosh proudly displayed. The rest, as they say, is history. Nike exploded. The swoosh became more than just a logo. It became a cultural icon. It represented a just-do-it attitude and was worn by the world's greatest athletes, from Michael Jordan to Tiger Woods. But what about Carolyn Davidson? As Nike grew from a small Oregon-based company into a global multi-billion-dollar empire, Phil Knight didn't forget the young student who gave his brand its identity. In 1983, about a decade after the original transaction, Nike decided to properly thank her. They invited her to a surprise company party. There, she was presented with a beautiful, custom-designed gold and diamond ring shaped like the swoosh. But that wasn't all. She was also given an envelope. Inside was a certificate for 500 shares of Nike stock. At the time, that stock was already valuable, but today... Well, after numerous stock splits over the decades, those original 500 shares are now worth well over $1 million. It's an incredible gesture that shows the company's appreciation for her foundational contribution. Carolyn, often referred to as the logo lady, never sought fame. She continued her career as a graphic designer and retired, living a quiet life. When asked about the initial $35 fee, she has always been gracious, stating that it was fair pay for the work at the time and that she's incredibly proud of what the swoosh has become. The story of the Nike swoosh is more than just a piece of business trivia. It's a lesson in value. It shows that great ideas can come from anywhere and that their initial cost has no bearing on their ultimate worth. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest designs are the most powerful. That simple checkmark, born from a student's sketchbook, didn't just grow on Phil Knight. It grew on the entire world. It symbolizes speed, power, and the pursuit of greatness. Every time you see it on a shoe, a shirt, or a billboard, remember the humble $35 beginning of a global phenomenon and the talented student who brought it to life. What a fascinating story, right? It really makes you look at that simple checkmark in a whole new light. If you enjoyed this dive into design history, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next story. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.